I was speaking to a friend recently who had gone for a checkup. His doctor told him that unless he began exercising and eating right, he would not have the quality of life he envisioned. He told me that it got him thinking about how lazy he had become, and it was time for him to change. He couldn't undo the past, but he could do the best to change his habits. It's funny how a health scare will make us change our ways. We can go through life in a happy inertia until we get a wake-up call, and then we scramble to make things right. The parable of the shrewd steward is an example of a man who realizes that if he keeps doing what he's doing, he would have to deal with severe consequences. We hear in the gospel that the charges were brought against the steward who was called to give account. Realizing the difficult situation he would be in, he decides to sort out and make life better for himself. So he goes to the debtors and lightens their burdens, hoping that they will help him when he is out of a job. He says, "What shall I do, since my master is taking the stewardship away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig. I'm ashamed to beg." And so he begins his plan and goes to the debtors. "How much more do you owe my master?" And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said to him, "Take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Then there seems to be an odd twist to this parable. Instead of the master being infuriated with this type of behavior, he's okay with it. In fact, he praised the steward because he had acted shrewdly. I would suggest that the master was happy with the steward because he's emulating the master's generosity and mercy, a generosity that was beyond conventional. The master could have easily had the steward thrown into prison, but he gave him a chance. He showed him mercy. Jesus uses this parable as a metaphor for the spiritual life. God has given us so many gifts. If we look at our lives, we will see that we are blessed in so many ways. Yet we tend to take many things for granted and often live in spiritual inertia. Jesus tells us it's time to wake up and give account. Are we generous with the gifts that God has given us? Are we generous with love, mercy, and kindness? Are we generous in helping the poor and needy?